Well, it's a bright sunny day up here in northern Michigan, and it's April. A lot of us are starting to think about hunting out west again, getting our packs together, choosing how our setups are going to be, and hopefully starting to train with it. And last year, I kind of switched my setup a little bit. A lot of us, we carry sidearms when we're hunting and even when we're guiding, like myself. And one of the problems that I've always had of a sort is that most of the holsters that I came across, if they sat on my waistband, they get in the way of my waist belt on my pack. And so I started strapping my holster right to the molly gear on my pack. Well, that set it up a little bit higher, a little bit harder to draw. Not terrible, and since I'm not in a high bear area or anything like that, I don't have a lot of negative run-ins with wildlife. It wasn't a particularly big issue. A couple years ago, we had a guy, not one of our guys, but a hunter that one of our guys ran into that had a run-in with a big bull moose. And this bull, he was archery elk hunter, and the bull pinned him up in a stand of trees for about 45 minutes. And so even though I was already carrying a 40 cal, I wanted something that was a little bit heavier, and so I ended up going to the Glock 20 and a 10 millimeter just for that. But being a full size, having it right here, that was going to be a little bit uncomfortable. And there was I don't know if you guys remember, I think it was back in 2015 or 16, up in Island Park, Idaho, there was a guy that got killed by a grizzly bear because his pistol was on his pack and not on his person. And so that kind of got me thinking about rearranging how I carry my sidearm, because I am occasionally in grizzly bear country. It's pretty rare, but on occasion I am. And even black bears, moose, any of those bigger wild animals, all of them can be dangerous. You never know when something's going to go down. And so finding a way that I can always have my sidearm on me was a big help. And what I ended up going to was Blade Tech. I looked around online. When I worked security for an armored car company, one of our guys had a drop, like a duty drop for his holster, not a drop leg like I carried in the military. Drop leg is all the way down here, just kind of right at the bottom where your hand's at. And I didn't want to go that far down, but this just duty drop, I think is what they call it, dropped it just enough to where the top of your pistol is right at the top of your waist, right on your belt line, about where it needs to be. And so it's out of the way of the waist belt or the hip belt on your pack, but it's not so far down that when you're moving around you have to have it strapped to your leg or anything like that. It's not getting in the way. It's very, very similar to how a normal holster feels, but you have just that little bit further down to make it easier, even easier coming up to grab it. You just pull up instead of being up here, which to me, being up here, if you have to pull up, now you're into your armpit, you have to pull up, as opposed to here is just a cleaner draw. And so I ended up going to that. The nice thing with Blade Tech is they have what they call their mini. I can take this off, holster and all, and I can move it. And so one of the things that I did find, and it generally goes back in fairly easy, one of the things that I found when I started hunting on my own, I had my rifle on my back. And so when I put my rifle on, guess what happens? Now I'm bumping in to my holster and my pistol, and I'm banging my rifle up, and that's no good. So the nice thing with Blade Tech is when they have, let's move this thing out of back off again. So if you see this little circle right here, that goes on to a standard holster. Mine's on a Blackhawk. You can put it on, I think, just about any holster out there that's a Kydex or maybe even leather. If you can just put those screws in, they have a lot of different, you can see up into here, there's a lot of different mounting options. And so it's not just for one, and even on their website, you can go on there and look through what holsters they match up with. But this right here is basically, you can get it in the light a little bit better. So you've got this little cradle here that this ring sits in. And then down here you've got a paddle, and this is the lock. And so lock goes either way. It's got to be center, which this can be a little bit of a pain in the butt if you're trying to take it off. Getting that thing just right. And another upside is this can rotate 360 degrees in that. So I had this, I bought 2 of them. One of the circles and then 2 of these minis. And so what I can do is I can put it in just like that, snap it in, lock it, and then now I can come, for me, because I got such short arms, it's a little bit of a reach getting over here for a cross draw, but it's another way that I can carry it if I'm hunting and I've got my rifle. Now I'm not banging into anything. I've got still got my drop on. That's not particularly in the way of anything. And I can just walk around just like normal. And if anything does happen and I need my pistol, it's still on me. It's on my pack. And then if I need to transition, say I've got an animal down, my rifle's sitting over by a tree, and I'm in bear country or there's something around, I can just take it off. And I can snap it right back in. It's on my body. I can take my pack off. My pistol's still here. And that was, had that guide in Island Park had that option, he may very well be alive because his pack was 20 feet away. The bear came in, the client tried to get to the pack, get the pistol out of it, and it wasn't enough time. They were archery hunting, and you can go back and look at that whole episode. I think that one may be on the channel Scary Bear Attacks. They cover a lot of bear attacks in the US, Canada, and even throughout the world. It's a really good resource to go in and see what happens, and they kind of break down the attack and what happened as best they can, either by eyewitness accounts or from the investigation. But remember, it's not just bears out there that we need to keep an eye on. Moose, to a certain extent, cats and wolves, but those generally are more afraid of you than you are of them. But plenty of people get tore up by moose, and so it's always good to have a sidearm on you just in case. And this is probably one of the lighter weight options, but I hope this helps you guys out if you're looking for another way to carry your pistol, or maybe be able to move it around your pack system when you're out hunting. Maybe that hip carry isn't always the best. Sometimes you need to go somewhere else or on the chest. On my pack, the way I've got it right now, I just zip tied it on. I took the regular belt attachment and I zip tied it on my pack. Blade Tech does have actual Molly gear attachments. You can go on their website. I don't have it yet. It's something I'm probably going to get just to make it easier to take on, move around if I need to, and fine tune it and adjust it. I just threw this stuff on. I did try putting it on right here and picked my rifle up and put it on, and I ran into the same problem, maybe even worse, is where the pistol is on my hip. So another thing, I've seen a lot of guys, especially the Vortex guys, on their podcast, they will carry their pistol right up here. And normally they're carrying smaller 9mm, and so maybe because they're the slimmer line, they don't have a big pistol grip sticking out the back, and they're also taller guys. I'm 5'7". I think Ryan's probably over that 6 foot mark, although Mark's a little bit shorter. So, but a lot of those guys, they like carrying them just right up here. But again, you're coming up, that short draw, and then you've got to get out. Once you're out, you're fine. It's actually good being right here. But when you're trying to get up, if you've got to pull up and you're like me, you got these little short arms and short upper body, having it right down here where you can just come out, pull it, and you're right there. I find it a lot more advantageous. So easier to carry, easier to move around. And the nice thing is, if you're short like me and you get into your vehicle, and this does hit the seat when I sit down, so it pushes up a little bit, but get that. You can just pop it off, set it somewhere, and then you get out of your vehicle. snap it back in, lock it, and you're good. So, hope this helps you all out. Till next time, happy hunting.